Am I correct? But anyway, next week will be quite hectic because there will be a lot of students. There will be a lot of students coming to the campus and then searching and looking for their classrooms. So I've decided to give you one more week, okay, before we start our face-to-face classes. But while you're at the campus class, while you're at the main campus, kindly check our classrooms, okay, so that you will be able to know where is your assigned where is your blocks assigned room, okay? So for a while. Okay, so anyway, so like what I have said, kindly make sure that even though we will still not meet each other next week, kindly make sure to check your respective classrooms class, so that by the time we will have our face-to-face classes, you can just go directly to our classroom. Okay, is that clear? And before anything else, shout out to those students who are also watching on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch our synchronous session. Okay. So anyway, can you also tell your classmates who have their classes um, that we will have our face-to-face classes not next week but the week following. Okay, so that you will have time to orient yourselves with the layout of our campus. By the way, may I see a show of hands for those who had not yet even stepped foot on the USC main campus? Okay, so yeah, so there's still many of you. So I hope you will take the time to check the campus and orient yourselves with the with the facilities of our school. May I know who among you here are already here in Cebu City? Already in Cebu City. Oh, almost all of you are already here. That's nice. You're so excited for face-to-face classes, class? Are you
Not
excited? What?
Not yet.
Not yet? Why? Why is that?
We're nervous, Miss.
Okay.
Attorney.
It's a bit intimidating, attorney.
So you have 2 years of online classes for your senior high, right?
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney.
But for those of you who are not from Cebu City and who are studying in USC Senior High, were you able to visit the university during those 2 years? Or you graduated without having visiting the campus? Anyone from USC Senior High? Anyway. Okay. So you just visited the campus but not for official academic purposes. So anyway, I think those are the instructions. So do you have questions, class? Clarificatory questions? Do you have questions? Are you already required to wear your uniforms? Not yet. Next week.
Yes,
Required
attorney. We are
attorney.
required to wear our
Attorney.
uniforms.
So you already bought your uniforms because you're still in first year, and for the first semester we only have purely online classes. So somehow were you able to buy your uniforms, class? So you
Yes,
bought your
yes,
uniforms.
attorney.
Yes,
Where?
attorney.
So you went here to Cebu City?
Yes,
I
attorney.
had some of us had attorney some family members here in Cebu, so we just asked them to buy it for us,
Okay.
then ship it to or
So
play.
it would actually be quite exciting next week. So you will be all in school with your new uniforms. Okay? So for me, if there's no reason for you not to wear uniforms, you just wear your uniforms, class. When you graduate, you will miss wearing your USC uniform. Okay, so anyway, it's only for 4 years and you'll come to love your uniforms. Okay, so no other questions before we go to our lessons, class? No questions? Okay, so is it okay, class, if I'll turn off my camera? Because when I discuss, I don't want to be distracted by my face. Is it okay, class?
Yes,
Okay,
attorney.
attorney.
Yes,
Yes,
attorney.
attorney.
Okay. See you later. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation, class?
Yes,
Yes,
attorney.
Yes,
attorney.
attorney.
Yes, attorney.
Okay, so of course, our course title is AC 1202 or Accounting 1202. And in Accounting 1202, it's basically made up of the contract of sale, the contract of agency, although the contract of agency is already excluded in the CPA board exams, but you're still under the old curriculum. So I guess we still have to take up contract of agency because it is still in your syllabus. And then you have credit transactions and and the Maseda law. So during Maseda law, we're also going to discuss the recto law and the condominium law. So that's basically the coverage of the contract, the AC 1202. So may I ask, class, what book are you using? What book are you using, class?
Domingo, ma'am.
Domingo, Miss.
Attorney.
Okay. So the book of Domingo is already complete. Okay. And however, it's already complete, but it's actually tailor made for the CPA board exams. So you still have to, maybe you can just search the internet for the law on agency, class, or the contract of agency when we are going to discuss that. Okay. So anyone using the book of De Leon? Or all of you are already using the book of Domingo?
I bought the book for De Leon, miss. It's still on the way.
Okay. So anyway, for De Leon's book, we will be able to use that for the duration of the semester. But again, if you plan to take the CPA board exams, the contract of agency is already excluded. Okay, and for the book of the Leon Glass, it actually covers a certain portion of the previous CPA board exam. So that's why you have credit transactions there, and under credit transactions, all of the credit transactions are already listed there. So that's a very complete listing of all the credit transactions. But then again, since there are changes made to the CPA board exams, we will not be discussing the entirety of the credit transactions, only pledge, mortgage, and anti-crisis, which, by the way, in the book of De Leon, are the only topics included under credit transactions. Okay? So, last semester, you took up a contract. You took up obligations and contract, correct, class? So, as a as a brief recap, or just to check your knowledge, can anybody tell me what is a contract? Anyone? What is a contract? Yes.
Good morning, Madonggan ako, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you.
A contract, ma'am, is a meeting of minds between two persons or two entities, ma'am.
Whereby you continue. Meeting of the minds.
Between two entities.
Yes, continue. Whereby.
Katura, meeting of minds between two persons or two entities, ma'am.
Okay, that's partially correct. Anyone who can give the complete definition? Yes. Go ahead.
Can I continue her answer, attorney?
Yes.
The Civil Code defines a contract as a meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so it's basically a meeting of the minds, as what your classmate said. But to continue, yes, it's a meeting of the minds, but it involves two persons or two parties, whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. Yes, you were raising your hand. Do you have something to say? Go ahead. By the way, class, my apologies. I can only hear a person raising his or her hand. I cannot see the name because I actually opened my PowerPoint presentation and it takes up the entirety of my screen. So if you raise your hand and I said yes, go ahead, that means I am pertaining to you. Okay? Is that clear, class?
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney. Anyone else who has something to say? Okay, so last semester also we modified somewhat the definition of a contract, because we know that all contracts contain obligations. And what is an obligation again? Anyone? What is an obligation? Yes, go ahead.
An obligation is a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do.
That's good. Okay, very good, class. And we all know that all contracts contain obligations, but not all obligations emanate from contracts, because there are actually several sources of obligations. So as a quick recap, anyone who can tell me what are the sources of obligations? Yes, go ahead.
Obligations arises from law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts, and quasi-delicts.
Okay, very good. So as you can see, by that very definition alone, obligations come from 5 sources, and one of them are contracts. However, a contract or contracts are not the only source of obligations, because as what your classmate had just enumerated, there are actually 5 sources of obligations, and contract is just one of them. However, in a contract, it is imperative that there is an obligation in a contract. Otherwise, there is no contract. So if we are going to modify the definition of a contract in order to include somewhat the definition of an obligation, how are you going to state it? How will you state the modified definition of a contract? Bearing in mind the definition of an obligation. So by the way, what's the definition of a contract? It's a meeting of the minds whereby one party or one person binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. And we already know that the definition of an obligation is a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Since all contracts contain obligations and mean, so how can you somehow or somewhat modify the definition of the contract in order to in order to pinpoint the definition of the obligation, or in order to include the definition of the obligation? Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
If we were to modify it, the definition of a contract would be a contract is a meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something, to render some service, or not to give something, or not to render some service.
Okay, that could be one. That's interesting also. How about if we are going to incorporate there the meaning of an obligation? How would it sound? Yes, go ahead.
A meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give, to do, or not to do.
Okay, that's correct, class. Because in there, we can actually pinpoint where is the obligation. Okay, is that clear? And we now go to the contract of sale, and we know that a sale is a form of contract. So whatever is applicable to contracts, or whatever concepts or provisions we all learned about contract must necessarily and must automatically be applicable to a contract of sale, or to all the sales transactions that we will be talking about, because as it is, a sale is a contract. So therefore, it must have all the qualifications and none of the disqualifications of a contract. So qualifications: consent, object, and cause. These qualifications must not be against the law, morals, good customs, public order, and public policy. So a contract of sale is a contract, and as such, it must all have the characteristics of a contract. It must all have the qualifications and none of the disqualifications for a valid contract. So specifically, what is a contract of sale? It's a contract. Yes, you can kindly read. What is a contract of sale?
By the contract of sale, one of the contracting parties obligates himself to transfer the ownership and to deliver a determinate thing, and the other to pay therefore a price certain in money or its equivalent. A contract
Okay.
of sale may
Yes, continue.
Okay. A contract of sale may be absolute or conditional.
Okay, so thank you for that. So in a contract of sale, class, we know that like any other contract, it also has two parties. And what are the obligations of these parties? So one of the parties will have to transfer the ownership and deliver a determinate thing, while the other one will have to pay therefore a price certain in money or its equivalent. So the obligation of one is to deliver a thing, to transfer ownership and deliver a thing, and the obligation of the other is to pay for the price therefore. And the price can be in money or the equivalent of money. So question, who are these parties to a contract of sale? How do you call them? Yes, go ahead.
One party is called a seller or a vendor, while the other is called a buyer or a vendee.
Okay, that's correct. So during this semester, or while we will be discussing about the contract of sale, you have to be consistent. If you use seller, then you use buyer as a counterpart. If you use vendor, then you use vendee as the counterpart, although they mean the same thing. Okay, so we have here case 1. Anyone who can read the case? Question 1? Yes, go ahead.
On January 2, 2023, Everest bought from Skype a specific pink bag that belongs to Callie. Delivery and payment thereof will be done simultaneously on March 2 on the same year. As of today, January 30, is there a valid contract of sale?
Okay. So let's distinguish first, or let's identify who are the parties. Who are the parties? Anyone? Yes, go ahead.
The two parties are Sky and Kali.
And who is what again?
Everest.
Again. again.
The
Sorry,
two
sorry, class. Okay,
the
go
two
ahead.
the two parties are Everest and Sky, Miss.
Okay, Everest and Sky. And who are they? What are their roles?
Everest is the buyer while Sky is the seller, Miss.
That's correct. But you mentioned Kali. Who is Kali
A
in
third
this contract?
person, Miss.
Yeah, a third person or a stranger. But Kali happens to be the best friend of Sky. Is she still a stranger to this contract? Is she a stranger when she is the best friend of Sky? The answer is yes, because she is not a party thereof. So even if Kali is the best friend of Sky, as far as the contract is concerned, Kali is a third person. Another term for third person is stranger. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to analyze, then I'll ask for your answers. Okay, so anyone who can try to answer? Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, attorney. So, assuming that Cali gave Everest the no, assuming Cali gave um Sky the permission to sell her bag, the sale is valid. However, if Sky decided to sell the bag without the permission of Cali or without the consent of Cali, it is not valid.
Okay, so uh, uh, in the first scenario, you said that assuming that Kali gave permission to Sky, but then again, it was not stated in the case. So um, when you are going to read law cases class, you only answer based on what is given in the four corners of the situation. Okay, so that's one. Second, um, you're saying that assuming Kali gave permission to Sky. By the way, if that's true, that is already an example of a contract of agency. What do you know? You get it, class? So that's already an example of a contract of agency. So, but anyway, we are leapfrogging all over our other topics. But anyway, just to point out that it could also be a valid contract. It is a contract of agency. But then again, it's not mentioned. So presumably there is no contract of agency. So that's the second one. And my third comment is that your answer could be a valid answer. Why is it a valid answer? Because we already know that a person cannot sell what he does not own. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that could be a valid answer. But then again, class, we have to realize that the law are actually giving exceptions, that the law are actually giving a leeway in order to arrive or in order to reach the validity of such contract. And if you read your assignment, you will notice that there is actually a path provided for by the law to make this a valid contract. Now, what I'm saying is that this could, the answer could be correct. But then again, if you are going to look at um, the purpose of the law, you will know that the law is actually for arriving at a valid contract. Okay, so that may be correct, but it's incomplete. So there could be a better answer. Is that clear, class? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Um, uh, I will try answering, Miss Ha. I think it is a valid contract because in the scenario given, all of the requisites of a contract of sale are present. So we have the consent of both parties, Everest and Sky. We also have the object, which is the bag, and the price. However, one might say that it is not valid because Sky is not the owner of the bag. However, there is a provision which states that saan na to? The thing must be licit and the vendor must have the right to transfer the ownership thereof at the time it is delivered. So from this, ma'am, it is not material that at the time of the perfection of the contract, the seller is the owner of the of the bag. So it's valid, ma'am. Unless at the time of the delivery, Sky still does not own the bag.
And that's correct. Okay, so that's how you read. That's how you read the provisions of the law, class. So why is it valid? Okay, because Sky is still supposed to deliver it on, when is that, class? March 2. And as of January 20, Sky still has the possibility of acquiring legally the bag from Kali. You get it, class? You get it? So
Yes,
that's
attorney.
that's how beautiful the law class is. Okay, so that's why it's very interesting, and you must know. Okay, you must know the forces or the factors affecting a certain provision and how to apply that to a certain case. Okay, questions so far? Okay, let's
None
proceed.
so far, attorney.
Okay, let's proceed. So, when we talk about the definition of a contract of sale, what was being said is a determinate thing. So another name for determinate thing is a specific thing, and of course, the opposite of determinate is indeterminate. And another term for indeterminate is generic. So you have to be consistent also, class. So if you say determinate, the counterpart is indeterminate. But when you say specific, then the counterpart is generic. You get it? Now, how how are you going to make a determinate thing into a no sorry how are you going to make a generic thing into a specific thing? Because the law says the subject matter must be determinate, so it must only be specific. How about if you're going to sell a dozen baskets, a dozen a dozen apples? You're going to sell a dozen apples, and a dozen apples is generic, correct? So is it possible to sell a dozen apples? And the answer is yes. For as long as it's easily convertible, it's easy to convert the generic thing into a specific thing without having to go through another contract. Like for example, you're going to sell to your friend 12 apples. 12 apples are generic, but then you put the 12 apples in a plastic container. So by putting the 12 apples in a plastic container, you are physically segregating those 12 apples from all the other apples. So that's an example of a physical segregation. So in that case, the generic apples now become specific apples. Or you have 100 apples and you're going to sell 20 12 apples to your best friend. So you pointed at 12 apples and you say, this one, this two, this three, this four. Joke. Okay, this one up to the 12. So there is particular designation already. So in that case, lo and behold, the generic things already became specific. You get it, class? So you say a car. And then you describe the car, particular designation, a red car. So if there are 5 cars, all generic and of different colors, and one is red, lo and behold, by that instance, one of the cars, okay, became specific because there was particular designation. Then you say, what if all 5 cars are red? And then you have to say the car with plate number. So in that case, it's really specific because all cars have different plate numbers. Is that clear, class? So for a generic thing, it's only identified by its class or its genus. Like for example, red apple. So that's a class or a genus. Red apples. And genus never perishes. Genus never perishes. So if you sold a dozen apples to your friend, and at that time before delivery, it's still a dozen apples, and suddenly you ate all the apples. So is the obligation extinguished? No, because at that point, the thing or the things, the subject matter of the contract are still generic. So you can actually deliver 12 other apples of the same kind and quality. Clear? Hello there. Are you still listening?
Clear, attorney.
Yes,
Yes,
attorney.
attorney.
Okay, so that's determinate and indeterminate. Now, again, as you have noticed in your definition of the contract, it only talks about determinate thing. But then again, of course, you can sell indeterminate thing provided you can make it determinate without having to go through another contract. How? Through particular designation or physical segregation. It's just that easy. You can even say 100 ball pens. Then you pick one. This ball pen. So it's both physical segregation because you pick it up, and then you say this ball pen. It has suddenly become particular designate. It has suddenly become particularly designated. Okay, so when you point at a certain apple out of 100, there is already uh, a particular designation, this apple. Or if you get it, there is already physical segregation. Okay, questions so far about generic and specific things?
None so far, attorney.
Okay. So question 2, anybody who can read question 2? Yes, go ahead.
On January 2, 2023, Everest and Sky entered into a contract of sale where Everest will buy from Sky a dozen baskets of mangoes to be harvested from her, Sky's farm. The two friends further stipulated that delivery thereof will be done within 6 months. At that time, the mango trees at Sky's farm were starting to blossom, and it is expected that the harvest season will start in a month or two. Is there a valid contract between the two?
Okay, I'm sorry for the misspelling, class. It should be where, W-H-E-R-E. Okay? Okay, thank you for that. You're actually pausing. So that's why I also noticed. Okay, so again, it should be where, W-H-E-R-E. Okay, a minute or two to formulate your answer. Okay, so who are the parties in the contract and what are their roles? Yes.
The parties in the contracts are Everest and Sky, where Everest is the buyer and Sky is the seller of the mangoes.
Okay, thank you. That's correct. So, next question is what kind of goods are being sold? Yes,
Future goods, attorney.
future goods. Why do you say that these are future goods? Yes, go ahead.
Because these goods are to be manufactured, raised, or acquired.
Mm-hmm. That's the definition of future goods, but I want you um, to restate that so that it will only be specific to our example.
The
Okay?
goods are still to be harvested, attorney.
Okay, harvested. Before harvested, the goods are still to be
Grown.
what? To be grown, to be raised, to be harvested. Okay, that's correct. So, going back to the main question, is there a valid contract? Go ahead.
There is a valid contract, miss, because the three essential elements are present, and although the thing is not yet in existence, Article 1461 states that things having potential existence may be the object of the contract, and one of which is the main goals stated in the problem.
Okay, that's correct. Okay, because this is a sale of future goods and the seller will be able to comply with the terms of the delivery stipulated therein because it states there within 6 months. And at that time, the trees are starting to blossom and harvest season will begin in a month or two. Okay, you get it, class? Now, this is an example of future goods that are to be raised, grown, or harvested. How about in our previous example, as regards the bag? It's also an example of a future good, but it's a future good that is to be. Yes, go ahead.
Acquired, attorney.
Okay, very good. So, as regards the pink bag, it's also a future good because it has yet to be acquired. Okay, very good, class. So, question 3. Anyone who could read? By the way, it's still a misspelling. So anyway, you just continue. Yes, go ahead. Because I just copied, class. I just copied and pasted the previous question and then I changed certain aspects of the problem. So that's why I was also able to copy the misspelling. Okay, so I hope if you're taking notes, I hope you are going to change that in your own notes. Yes, you read question 3. Okay, so quite similar, but not really. There are certain changes to the case, so I want you to read and analyze and formulate your answer. Okay, who would like to answer? Anybody? Yes. Go ahead.
I try lang, Mama.
Yes.
Is there a valid contract between the two? The answer is yes, ma'am, because according to Article 1461, first paragraph, existence may be check of the contract of sale. That's it, ma'am.
Again, what? Can you read again? What was the quotation?
According to Article 1461, first paragraph, things having a potential existence may be the object of the contract of sale.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Thank you for trying. Anyone who has a different take on the case? Anyone who has a different answer? Yes, go ahead.
There is no valid contract between the two because there is no object in the contract. Because although the mangoes are technically going to be existing, but given that it's only 6 months, I doubt that these saplings will grow and bear fruit by that time. Because as per Article 1461, the efficacy of the sale of a mere hope or expectancy is deemed subject to the condition that the thing will come into existence. And so there is, since it will not be giving any fruit by 6 months, there is no object in the contract, Miss Attorney.
Actually, your answer is correct. Okay, but the provision quoted actually refers to a different aspect of the law. So anyway, for these two answers, the first one, of course, is it's not correct, but the provision of the law, the correct provision of the law was quoted. The second answer, that's a correct answer. Okay, that's a correct answer. But it falls within the exception of things having it falls within the exception of future goods. Sorry. So we are talking about future goods, and it falls within the exception of future goods because the the general the general idea of future goods is that yes, it can be sold provided it will be, or the things will be able will be delivered, or the seller will be able to deliver and transfer ownership thereof at the time of the stipulated delivery. So in this case, yes, it is a sale of future goods, and a sale of future goods is valid. But look at class. The time of delivery is 6 months, and at the time of contract, which is January 2, 2023, the mango trees are still saplings. Okay, so it's impossible for these saplings to grow fruits within a 6-month period. So there's no way that the seller will be able to deliver the fruits at the time of the stipulated day. So in this case, there is no valid contract. Okay, and I would like to discuss the sale of things having potential existence. Um, the classic example for that is a sale of hope class. Let's just say you're going to buy lotto tickets because the jackpot price is, let's just say, 500 million. But the probability of you winning winning the jackpot prize is 1 over 28 million, or basically nil, nada, nothing. Okay, it's basically next to impossible, or it's basically next to none of you winning the lotto. It's 1 over 28 million. And you might say, how is it possible, mom, that just a few months ago, how many people, class? 20 people won the lotto. How is it possible? And I would say, no comment, because it's outside the explanation of statistics. You remember that time, class? I think more than a dozen people won the lotto. My answer is that no comment, because it cannot be explained by statistics. But again, is it possible? The answer is yes. But following statistics, is that even possible? If we're talking about the realm of possibility, you can say yes. But if we are going to dwell on the realm on the realm of statistic as proven by science, I think it's quite a stretch. But in here, let's just say you bought a lotto ticket and your probability is only 1 over 28 million. And of course, you did not win the lotto. So was the sale void, class? Because it's near to impossible for you winning the lotto. And the answer, yes, go ahead. You want to answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The sale of vain hope is one, ma'am. Expect it is void.
Sale of a vain hope. So are you saying
Because
that the lotto transactions are actually void? Because there's only a very, very slim chance of a person winning the lotto? Is it void or is it valid?
for me, ma'am, it's void.
Okay, so thank you for your answer. Anyone who has a different answer? Yes, go ahead.
It's valid, attorney.
Because?
As long as the draw did not happen yesterday or the past few days. And because the object of the contract is the hope.
Yes. So
it's valid.
it's the hope. What they are selling is the hope. And even though how nil, class, the sale is still valid because there is really a potential that you are going to win the lotto. That there is a potential existence of that happening. So it's not a vain hope. You get it? Now, it is a vain hope if they are they are selling lotto tickets where, like what your classmates had said, where it had already been drawn. So no matter how high is the probability, let's just say only five tickets were sold. So that's 20% probability of you winning. But you will never win because it had already been drawn. There's no more future raffle draw for that certain instance. So even though your probability is 20%, it's a vain hope because it could never happen. You get it, class? Compared to 1 over 28 million, it's still a hope, class, because even though the chance of that happening is very, very small, there is still that chance. There is still that potential existence. You get it? So again, there's actually a slim demarcation line as regards to sale of hope, sale of things having potential existence, and sale of future goods, because the three actually are more or less the same. Did you notice, class? More or less the same, because all of them refer to the future. Okay, so what's the answer? Because the seller, there's no way, or like what your classmate said, it's impossible for the seller to deliver the goods within 6 months. Okay? So thank you for your participation. Do you have questions, further questions? Do you have further questions, class? So again, even though specifically and technically they're not really the same, but the idea, had you noticed, class, the idea, the concepts are just the same. Sale of future goods, you have sale of hope, sale of things having potential existence. So yeah, more or less the same. And it doesn't matter if um, you're not able to pinpoint exactly, but what's important is that you know and you have the general idea that is what the law means. Okay? So questions for clarifications? So I hope next time many more will be able to participate. Okay? By the way, class, so for our face-to-face meeting, when you go to school or when you attend class, kindly bring with you the smallest size index card, and color white. Okay, color white, with the following. You might as well take this down. So on the first line, you write your family name, your name, and your class schedule. Class schedule. Again, index card, smallest size, color white. Then you write your family name, your name, and your class schedule. And I will collect that during our face-to-face classes. What are those for? Those are your vessels for bonus points. Okay? So vessels for bonus points, class. Okay, other questions? Clarifications? Yes. Queen. Yes, Queen.
Yes, good morning, attorney. I just want to ask something regarding your grading system in this subject, attorney.
Okay, grading system. Basically, class, you will have four major exams. The pre-midterm, and then the midterm, the pre-finals, and the finals. And no matter the number of items, all four exams will always equate to 100. So that's 400, right? So we can always equate it to 100% or 100 points. So how are you going to compute? Maybe you'll get your calculators now. So let's just say, all in all, for the semester, you got 305. 305 out of the four exams. So that will be 305 over 400 times 4 minus 1. And then disregard the negative sign. So that's how I compute your grades. All other activities will be bonus points. So for the index card, that will be bonus points. For attendance, like attending the session, that will be additional bonus points. So all other activities are bonus points, except for the 4. But maybe for the 4 major exams, we can have for the 2 exams, the pre-midterms and the pre-finals, we can actually have an individual exam and a group exam. Okay, so that there will be more chances of you having or getting higher grades. Okay? Other questions? Other questions? No more questions, class? Yes, Julianne. Yes, Jules.
Good morning. I would just like to ask in advance during our face to face setup, are you strict about us using our gadgets for note taking? Are we allowed to use our gadgets during your class?
No. Thank you for asking. No gadgets in my class except when you are using that for an activity. Like, for example, there is a reporting or there is a role acting or role playing, role playing or some other activity. But for normal classes, no. Okay? Yes.
Attorney, thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yes, Junice. Nice. Go ahead, nice.
I would like to ask attorney regarding the class schedule for face to face.
Class schedule, we follow your class schedule. So it will be um, one schedule, one classroom. But I don't
Would you
know
meet us,
what.
attorney? Would you meet us twice in a week?
The policy only says once a week, right? So we will still have synchronous and asynchronous sessions, but hopefully we can have face-to-face synchronous sessions because the university only says synchronous and asynchronous, but synchronous sessions can actually be face-to-face or online, like this one. This is already a synchronous session, but we'll see, class. But for you, you're actually expected to go to school every day. That's expected of you, class. So if the teacher cannot meet you face to face, USC is assuring that it already has enough bandwidth to accommodate any or all of the online activities. So I hope that's true. Okay. So let's just say, for example, you're already in school because your other teachers are meeting you, especially your teachers with topics that needs computation. So they are highly encouraged. The teachers are highly encouraged to meet you face to face. So computations, laboratories. So you have to go to school every day. And then since our topic is purely theory or purely theoretical, I might meet you. I might meet you online, but you're already in school, okay? Because your other teachers are requiring you to come to school. So it really depends, class. But my target is to see you weekly, unless if we have an activity that is tailor made for online only. Okay. Other questions?
Attorney, if your
Yes.
sched is on Monday and Wednesday for our class group, would you meet us on Monday or on Wednesday?
I
Face to
would
face.
I would prefer to meet you on Monday. So for Tuesday class, that will be Monday and Tuesday. I will be in school Monday and Tuesday. And for my Friday and Saturday classes, maybe 1 hour face to face, and then the next first session face to face, then second session will be asynchronous already. So let's see how we're going to go about it. Or maybe for my Friday and Saturday classes, I still have to meet you. For my Friday and Saturday classes, maybe this week is all face-to-face, then the following week, all off-site, synchronous and asynchronous. So let's just see, class, because the policies are not yet fixed, and the teachers are giving teachers are actually given flexibility to conduct the classes for as long as it's imperative that there will be face-to-face classes. So again, what I'm saying is that even if I'll only meet you once a week or once every other week, but you are still expected to go to school every day, because we don't know what your other teachers will be requiring of you, especially again, laboratory classes and classes that would require computation. So it depends upon the topic, class. For our subject, we can have greater flexibility because this is purely theoretical. Okay? Okay, class? So, other questions? Okay, no more question. Did you learn? Did you learn something from this session, class? Did you learn something?
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney.
Yes, miss. Thank you, attorney.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think that's it. Thank you for coming, class. Bye.
Thank you, Miss. Goodbye.
Thank you, attorney.
Thank you, miss.
Bye.
Thank you, miss.
Bye.